Prost. Hey, cheers.
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 Prost.
Cheers.
Kampai.
Cheers.
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 Little brown dog.
Spirits.
Dot.
Com.
Your very good health. Ball bags.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another Blether. What a year it's been for Little Brown Dog. If you hadn't guessed, that was the best of 2024 video from co-founder, co-owner, and tonight's guest, Andrew, sent us that for us. How are you, Kat?
I'm good, thank you. I loved that video. What a bloody year. A lot of stuff's happened, isn't it? That was very, very clever.
Been epic. Yeah, we've. I'm just running through the people online saying good evening to Tim, to Scott, to Dave. Willis is on Facebook. We've got Phil Dixon on Facebook. Lots of whiskey being poured. Who else? Dutch Jura is on as well. He's looking forward to hearing about LBD. Hopefully we'll get around to talking about them tonight. That would be good. Dave has got, you'll never guess what Dave's got. He's got a slab of Christmas cake. I think Dave's Christmas cake lasts all year round.
How big was that cake? Jesus.
Big. More importantly, he's having it with the LBD Glasgow distillery. Without doubt, one of the best bang for bucks drams of last year, I think.
And one of the best photographs I've seen for a whiskey release. That was awesome. That was the Barrowlands one, wasn't it? When was it in the bottle? Really nice.
Yeah, that's the label there.
I know. I want that T-shirt that on their merch. They've got a really cool T-shirt with that on it.
I'm not sure if we can sell their stuff on our merch page. I'm not sure if that's. We could. See why not. Who else is on? Tim is got the LBD Glen Talkers 2013 on the go as well. Scott said he hasn't tried anything from LBD. Where have you been, Scott?
Yeah.
My God. Give us a shout. We'll sort you out with some LBD whiskey. And Willis is on the Aaron 14-year-old. Is that an LBD? I don't think the LBD was 14. The Aaron release. Private cask from Lachranza. Is that from the distillery itself, Willis? You have to let us know. Well, I have poured I'm on brand tonight as well. I've gone for the Tormore Distillery. This
Drove
was the
past it
Tokai.
yesterday.
We did, yes. We were up doing a wee jolly around Speyside, past the Tormore. So that was the Tokai. The first Tokai cask I had was this one. And since then, I've had numerous, which is a really, really cool cask. Really funky wine that gives a nice kind of sweet, almost herbal touch to the whiskey. It's a cool wee dram. It was their Glengarry Tokai cask that we had Finn Thompson. I was drinking that night as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
What's in your glass tonight?
Well, I'm kind of on brand both ways, but it's a Glengarry. I'm not going to tell you where it comes from because it comes from a whiskey shop that's not yours. But it was. But Andrew was, I think, the shop sourced it from Andrew. So it's
you can say it's a strong water, guys, wasn't it? That had that.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
So
we like to share the love.
We
As long as it's honking, we can share it.
You know what? If it's got Glengarry written on it, I'll whore myself out to any retailer. But I've also got my wee mongrel somewhere that I was going to get out before we started, but I'll rake that out in a second as well.
Awesome. Well, let's bring Andrew on. He's sitting, waiting desperately to get to chat to the guys. So let's get him on screen. Here we go. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, desperately is maybe not the right term, but yeah, good to see you guys.
I always feel the introduction, we should build it up a little bit more because it's just a click a button, you just appear. We should maybe I don't know, have you fading in or stepping out of a TARDIS or something. I don't know. It seems
it's a bit overkill and the production values probably aren't there for that yet, but
maybe not.
Good to see you guys again, and nice to hear some familiar names appearing, being read out there, and the kind of the usuals as well. So
yeah, the Bletherin. They named themselves. They're officially the Bletherin, which is
I like that. That's good.
It is good. I can't remember who actually came up with that. Who, if you're watching, the person came up with it, own up because it's actually a really, really good name.
So if we offer commission, then everyone will admit to it. So we've got Frank coming in. Even though not many LBD in Sweden, only one, and it's out of his price range. Sadly, unfortunately, it's part of the business being in kind of Scandinavian countries is the expense, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was 3 releases went out yesterday actually in Sweden. So the Glenwivis, the Kura, and Wee Mongrel. So
nice.
Everything's sort of like a kind of lag thing because of the way it works with the export, and then the Nordic markets are particularly exciting for that because we've got to work with the government and so on. So it's kind of released at certain dates, but great to be working with Svenska Elvatten out there, decent bunch of guys. So hopefully get out to Sweden this year and say hello to a few folk.
Yeah, you had a pretty epic Scandinavian tour earlier. Well, last year now, isn't it?
Yeah, fairly. I think a usual year for me would be like maybe 2 or 3 countries. That last year was a bit more than that, but fantastic, and just great to see like there's people that care about whiskey like on another level out there, and but they still get our sense of humor, which I was always nervous of, because we are a bit different in some of the ways we present whiskey. So seeing that translate in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and even Taiwan and Singapore and various other places has been an absolute just delight, really, because we couldn't change ourselves to be a bit more, normal. So you take us as we are, and the folk get that and they enjoy the humor. Then fantastic, it's good.
I think that's been one of what's made you guys stand out as a brand, is that you're not afraid to laugh at yourselves. You have that humor that maybe some brands, certainly some bigger brands, would be afraid to personify, whereas you guys kind of lap it up, and your videos are always tongue in cheek and fun. And
well, that's because they're so crap they have to be, But it's like I think the whiskey world's big enough for everybody, and it is easy for us to take the best out of the extreme high end and we enjoy that a lot. There's a danger, I think, in whiskey. Sometimes you go so far up your own backside, you don't, really know where things are. But if the big guys want to do these crazy, massive, incredible, really intricate bottles, whatever else, then and they can find someone to buy it, then crack on. Like that's great. It's just not what we're about. And if we can poke a little bit of fun at that in the process, it's always easy being the little guy poking fun. Then we're going to continue doing that. But it's really very much built around a love of whiskey, the spirit itself, and a recognition of just how much whiskey means to so many people. And there was a feeling, to an extent, I think, that was being taken away from a lot of people that cared about the history and the heritage and the product itself. But for us, the biggest thing with whiskey is the people that you're drinking the whiskey with. I think that's so important. And all the best whiskeys I've had in my life have been because of the people I was with or the place I was in drinking it. And that's what you remember as much as the liquid. And it's important. It goes without saying that it's important that the whiskey is good. It has to be good. We just want to have good whiskey that people can enjoy moments with each other with, and that does sound almost dangerously corporate saying that like that, but like it's where it comes from, and it's why we end up doing such stupid things in videos, because we are trying to bring it back to having a bit of fun.
I guess they wouldn't work if the whiskey wasn't good. If you had all this fun and then people you'd almost look at you as a kind of a joke company if the whiskey wasn't as good. But they take you seriously. They watch that and they see the fun side of it, knowing that at the end of the day there's a quality dram in the glass.
There's a lot of ways what we do is actually pretty nerdy, and whether that's whiskey or whether it's other spirits, we do really get quite nerdy about these things. And there's a danger it becomes extremely serious and pretentious. And I think there's a time and a place for all that as well. I mean, there's a certain pleasure in life in just locking yourself away. I mean, there's a lock in that door here, so I can just sanctuary in here and just spend half an hour sniffing a whiskey, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just love it. But there's also something to be said about sharing that really good whiskey with other people. And I think whiskey's evolved so much in the last 5-10 years, because here we are online, always having a wee dram together. It's a different experience than just being at someone's house or whatever else, but still that shared experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why whiskey has done so well on social media, and it's made folk interested, because it's about that shared experience, whether that's tasting notes or just enjoying a whiskey together, or just discussing the industry.
So is there any chance of like a sort of one-off crazy little brown dog bespoke decanter? Because like last year was the year of the decanters. I feel like maybe.
Well, we already did that. I mean, we pretended one year we'd got this kind of crystal decanter, and we had it suspended by 3 dogs' paws, which was actually three cans of beer that had dog socks on them. And I can't remember too much about the kind of spiel in that one, but it was a bit of a. I think we called that one the reach around. And if Meldrum House wants to stock that, then we're quite willing to provide them. Some of these things are works hard. They're crazy, but that's just another realm. It could be anything. It could be coloured liquid in there, and for us, it's the liquid is the important part. And I like to have a bit of fun with the labels and trying to think of quirky reasons why we would colour a label one way or put a certain pattern on, and try to link it back. And that might be the place, it might be the cask type, it might be something about the distillate itself. But that's as far as it goes. And when you buy one of our bottles, you're paying for the liquid inside it. You're not paying for you're paying for the whole lot, because the glass costs money. We're not. We're trying to make sure that the value is in the liquid and not in something else.
Yeah, I think my favourite label is the Dalrymple with the spoon, masked in amongst the granite patterning. That was pretty funky. Nice wee story behind it as well.
Just born out of frustration, that label, because I think we're in safe company here. We're all whiskey nerds here. You want to know what you're drinking. You want to know everything about it. You want to know the detail, where you can get that detail. And so when we're put in a position where we can't even call it what it is, that's frustrating, because this whole idea of teaspooning is about brand protection, and I respect that and understand that, but it's a nonsense if you can't tell me when it was teaspooned and what it was teaspooned with, you know. And it's more of a nonsense if the stock comes to me as single malt, and then I'm instructed I have to call it blended malt. I think that's a bit iffy. And of course, there's a big difference between a blended malt and a teaspoon malt. I mean, you take a 500 litre sherry butt and you add a teaspoon of something else to it. Is that really a blend? So we're not allowed to call them teaspoon malts. That's why we put the teaspoon picture on the label. The granite for Ailsa Bay, Ailsa Craig, you know. Yeah. And if you're a bit of a whiskey nerd, you get these things, and if you don't, you just think, why on earth is there a spoon in that label? But we're here for the nerds, so. And of course,
but the video to back up as well, so they can watch the video.
I mean, I think we've already subjected folk to a video this tonight already, so I don't have to do that again to them, you know. Same with the Glen Secret, you know, the Glenlivet, you know, and just driving around the Glenlivet estate, changing all the road signs to Glen Secret. That was just a bit fun.
You must get some looks from guys driving past thinking, "What the hell is this guy up to?"
Oh, honestly, I think the best one was the Tormore when we were pretending to cut all the topiary at Tormore to LBD logo, you know, and literally security turned up and we were there with like a kind of electric hedge trimmer, but obviously the plug not plugged into anything, you know, and it was like, "Hello, goodbye." George hanging onto the gate, Macallan dressed as a Teletubby, and there's that security camera just above there, and you can see this, and it's the camera just panning around to see what the hell's going on. I'm like, right, George, one take and we're done here. Let's go.
Well, when the Strong Water Company released the Glengarry for their birthday, I've just forgotten the guy's name now. That's terrible. No, wait, he's called Guy, isn't he?
Guy,
no, what's he called? Yeah, he is called Guy.
We usually call him the guy, but we just call him Guy.
Just he insists on the title now. Ever since he released Glengarry, it's gone to his head. And so, like, we were in contact with him, obviously, because there was maybe some talk of coming out to get some photographs, or whatever. And then I was never sure if anybody got back in touch with him. I was like, could we just actually find out? Because like Andrew literally might just turn up in like a morph suit and like be like filming stuff outside. Like, let's just find out for sure if they're taking photographs. Like almost like a sense of fear. Like, is he actually here somewhere?
I think it's always better to ask for forgiveness than for permission. For these things. For the Cura video, I really wanted to just get one last shot to kind of tie it all in together and make a bit more sense of the cask on the luggage reclaim at Aberdeen Airport, you know. And then you can't really just rock up to an airport with a camera these days and a cask. So I did ask, and some lady was going to have to come up from Glasgow and had to fill in all these forms and everything else, and it was going to be absolute chaos. And I just don't think it's worth it for 3 seconds of footage. So she was incredibly relieved when I suggested maybe we park it. But I think it wants a kind of slightly shitty kind of message from Macduff Marine Aquarium going when they noticed that we maybe, especially when we tagged them in all the photographs of the Aberdeen Whisky Shop, Macduff at the aquarium. But maybe next time, you know, ask or something, maybe along those lines. Like, paperwork. Like that.
They must have loads of videos going about social media of people visiting the aquarium. So
yeah, not many of them with a full-size bottle of whiskey. Just I wanted to see the fish swimming about with the bottle. I thought it was quite cool.
Well, it's not like you're endorsing that the fish were drinking it or anything, like, you know. It was
no,
just...
but if we can make a peace with Marine Aquarium tonight, and let's do that. And let's say that it's a great place to go with the family. I highly recommend Macduff Marine Aquarium. I was told when I moved up here that it was Europe's biggest aquarium. It's not. It's bigger than like Deep Sea World, bigger than like the aquarium at like Monaco, and like, oh yeah, definitely, yeah. It's bigger than the fish tanks and Pets at Home, but apart from that, it's still great. I gotta live it, like, you know. I'm going to spend some money on it just now. So
they've got a really arsey octopus, though. It does not come out of that little drain pipe at all. Anytime I've been there, I don't even think it's in the tank. I don't even think they've got an octopus.
The rubber one. Who knows?
Slapped on.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. My youngest son was obsessed by octopuses or octopi for a long time. And we used to go and try and see this octopus. Never bloody saw it. He's over it now, though.
I was almost going to try and come up with some facts about octopus there, but I was like, let's not go into that. We're here to talk about whiskey and not sea creatures, you know.
They are odd, though. They're very strange things.
I've got no idea what's going on. Oh, there we go. I can click on this thing here, boy.
Oh, so Russell says hello, and he likes your moustache. Hi, Russell.
Hi. Yeah, long service Blether Award. Yeah, you're right, Russell. It's like, I think I'm just like the standing guy. I'm like, oh shit, we can't actually get anybody good on this week. So
that's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. I just couldn't be. I just haven't kept up with the diary at all.
Yeah, oh crap! It's every week. Oh well, get him. At least I'm not sitting in a field this time. That was a stupid idea.
That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a beautiful sunny evening, and I thought we'll just get Benny in the background, you know, because I'm proud of being in Aberdeenshire. And of course, Benny He's that kind of symbol of Aberdeenshire, isn't it? If you're from the Shire,
it is.
And then it got dark and very cold, so it was a terrible idea.
There's no better view. See, if you're on holiday and you come back in Aberdeen or you go into Edinburgh and you're driving up, they're coming over the tire bagger, and just that view of Benny, I think it's the most welcoming sight after a wee trip away. You just think, yeah, okay, I'm 10 minutes from home. Yeah, you're there, you're home, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a morning hill. Russell's 5 minutes behind the chat. He's mentioning the. Oh no, we were speaking about fridges before we went live.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah, we were talking about fridges in the green room there, Russell, and so hopefully nobody brings up fridges tonight. And there you have again. There we go. Just ruin it for everybody.
Yeah, brought up fridges. I don't think there's a lot of chat in fridges, to be honest. My fridge knowledge is lacking. Like,
well, we'll read up on it for next time, Kat. We'll have octopus knowledge and fridge knowledge for going next time.
I'm here for it. Screw whiskey. Let's just go for let's go for that. Much more interesting.
Rick's complimenting your shelf, Kat. He's saying he misses the small shelf with 5 bottles. I don't even think there was 5 on that shelf, to be fair. Maybe
I don't think it
was Andrew, we forgot to ask you, what's in your glass tonight?
Should I tell you the truth or should I just lie and say it's one of our ones? But it's just like, I don't know. I don't really. I've got nothing much here, so I've got a nice wee speaker from North Star. I was looking for. Still, I've not tried that for a while, so get some of that in the glass. It's bloody good.
Nice. I like you saying you've got nothing much here, but I can see clearly.
If you could, I mean, if it wasn't for the absolute catastrophe, I mean, maybe I will just show you a wee bit. Like this is my desk. Sample bottles and more bottles and then more bottles and then sample bottles and then more bottles, and that's a shelf of sample bottles there. So yeah, there's it's a bit chaotic. I need to kind of get better at organizing it all.
I'm glad you're doing the classic Zoom of business up top and pants below, because we just saw.
I do have trousers on. I do have trousers on.
Oh, Janice is on. Hi, Janice.
Hello, Janice. Yeah. She's blaming you for the shutdown of Macquarie.
They had to do that. I think we've put in a good word for them tonight, so they hopefully get a few more bob, because it's a good best aquarium in the northeast of Scotland, you know. So
by far my favourite one. I didn't know they were closed down. I didn't know that.
It's a refit, I think. Yeah.
Oh. What do they do with all the? I know the fish can just stay there. They're maybe just doing up all the other bits.
I think it's like, I mean, why do you end up in an aquarium with a bottle of whiskey? But it's it's like whiskey is. Sounds really weird, but whiskey is quite a kind of sentimental thing, isn't it? I think you have memories about certain things, but also it's place and everything else like that. So for me, Macduff was the marine aquarium, so we did a bottle of Macduff and put the aquarium on the label, like I can see the Royal Brackla behind you there, Mike.
Yes.
With the plain yellow label, and there's sort of 2 reasons for the plain yellow label. First one is Chris thought our last batch labels were looking a bit dull and wanted something brighter, and he likes the old-fashioned ones we did with just the one color. But also like Royal Brackla, I was like, what links Royal Brackla or whatever else? And I remembered I bought a wood chipper on Facebook Marketplace from just outside Royal Bracknell Distillery, and it was that colour. So that's why the label is yellow.
And at what point did you tell Chris that story?
I mean,
really bright.
He's just used to me now. He kind of every now and again he goes, and then he just lets it go. We're trying to plan our labels for the next releases, and I really want to put a rectal glove on one of the labels. Chris has drawn the line there. So we were just having this conversation with some guy in Portugal, and he's like, I think it's really good that folk remember their roots and get back to their roots and all things like this. And I'm thinking about when Chris and I started this, we're just friends to start off with, but I was his vet and he was farming. And we'd usually be talking about things like this when we're scanning cows, and you always got a big rectal glove on when you're doing that. And so I thought that'd be quite fun to put one of them on the label, like the spoon, but with a big glove. And then you're gonna have to explain to folk in Taiwan why you've got a cow fisting glove on the label. So let's not do that, But maybe one day we will,
I think you'll have to now. It's out there. I think people are going to want it.
Do a small poll and see if anyone would buy a bottle with a cow rectal glove on it, And another thing, this other good thing about a rectal glove, right, is that if you've got a mate's house and you've got whiskey samples to drop off and they're not in, you can put the samples in the rectal glove, then you can just lower it gently down. No, you just lower it down in the post box thing, and it's not going to smash when you put it in the letterbox. See?
There we go. So
I just had images of you putting it into the cow.
Yeah,
just leave
into the letterbox. Not smuggling it across the border.
He doesn't know where to ask you what's coming up.
What's coming up?
What's coming up? If you can tell us. Obviously.
No. I mean, whiskey. There's some of that. I think we've picked out 6 casks that will be released between February and May. It won't be 6 together at one go. It'll be like maybe 3 and 3 or something like that.
Okay.
Just trying to stagger it out a wee bit. We've got some more of that stock that we blended for the Weeburn Electric Coup. So the whole of Campbelltown blend with a 21-year-old Springbank in it. So that's another year older now. So it'll be interesting to see what that comes out like. So we'll probably have some of that for Campbelltown Whisky Festival again. That was pretty crazy how that went down last year. So
that was awesome. It was such a good record as well. And
then we got more of the Drukit Doug stock. So do something with that for another kind of decent price blend. And then there's various other things that will happen between now and the first half of the year. I've got first half of the year roughly planned out. The second half, it's too early to say. There might be some other things that come up, but obviously you've always got to think, what's your next release? What's your release after that? What are you going to do with these other casks that are 8, 10, 5 years old, new make spirit, whatever else? Because you've got to lay things down for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And always be thinking about that, trying to build an inventory and something that is sustainable, rather than just bottling everything you've got and then realizing the warehouses are empty. So it's interesting. It's been really difficult the last couple of years, I think, to buy stock at a fair price. And we're always looking at people actually opening and drinking the bottles. And if you've got 20, 30 years of filling contracts and warehouses full of stock, that's less of an issue for you. But we've got a bit of a hand to mouth thing. We're only 6 years old as a company now, so you've got to buy stuff that you can bottle in the next year, but also buy stuff that you bottle in 2 or 3 years or 5 years or longer. But that's in cash flow and everything else. So it's tricky, but certainly. Huge changes in the market in the last 12 months. All the froth that came from the investment market has finally died down. So really optimistic about having some good drinking whiskey coming on the market, not just from us, but from a lot of people. And so let's hope still enough people in the world want to drink it so that we can keep doing it. Because I think a lot of the big guys are reporting pretty lean pickings last year. Certainly we did okay. But we're a much smaller company, and it's easier for us to be flexible.
different trajectories, really. Isn't it? And I guess it can either go two ways, because I imagine after the boom that we've just had, a lot of these distilleries who would be quite happy to put out to the casks to brokers or whatever, were maybe thinking, well, actually, we need a lot of these casks for ourselves because of demand. But then now that demand is waning on their side, they're like, well, actually, no, we need to get cash flow, so we're going to sell some of these casks out into the secondary market. And that means there's more of an offer for you guys, and maybe the chance to, get.
I'm sure it's very producer specific, so everyone's having different challenges and different things that are working for them. But certainly we are noticing much more choice for us as bottlers. I think part of that's coming from a growing reputation, people wanting to work with us directly, or knowing more what we're about. But I think there's going to be, for whiskey drinkers, hopefully some good stuff out there in the next couple of years. So let's keep going. And it's always a challenge to try and keep it interesting. Keep finding things that are just a bit different and quite special. We're not about chucking out volume or bottling casks just because we need to do X number this whatever quarter. We can't commit to numbers like that, because it's really entirely down to what's ready at this time and what warrants being bottled. We're very lucky. We've got an awesome, genuinely awesome, very loyal following, and that's fantastic. But we don't want to take the piss with that. We want folk to continue to enjoy what they get from us, and also as that following grows, if you've never bought a bottle of our stuff before and the first one you get you don't like, then you're not going to buy a second one. So we're kind of, I always think you're only as good as your last release, and we have to keep the bar high or higher. So it is a challenge. It means that we sometimes go out the way to try and find things a wee bit more different, like going to Finland last year and bottling the Kura. And because my own style of whiskey is very, very diverse, I've gone quite far in the rabbit hole. I enjoy a lot of different styles of whiskey, and I think a lot of us are like that. I can't expect everybody to like absolutely everything we do, but I want folk to understand why we did it. I want them to see the thought process behind it, and what our fingerprints are on that whiskey.
So what else kind of sort of new distilleries or world whiskies are you excited about for the year coming? Have you got travel plans? Have you got kind of distilleries you've got your eye on?
Yeah, I think travel plans are constantly evolving at the moment, but I'm going out to Taiwan in March. It's going to be quite a quick visit. I don't know if I'll get to go to Kavalan or not, but we'd love to see it. Every time I go to Denmark, I try to visit at least one or two distilleries while I'm out there. And then I've been to visit a few of the ones in Norway. Definitely plans to go and see, when I go to Sweden later on, see some distilleries there as well. My in-laws lived in Copenhagen for a number of years, so we'd already ticked a few off the list, but there's so much in a crazy distilling scene in the Nordic countries. I really think it's proper exciting stuff. I think, we take a lot for granted in Scotland. You drive to Dufton. I had to go to Dufton today. How many distilleries you drive past between Inverurie and Dufton? And then if you go up Ben Rinnes and on a cold day and you look down and you see all these little puffs of steam, and that's just one wee part of Scotland. And it's maybe changing a wee bit now, but there's still a hell of distilleries in planning, and folks still thinking about building distilleries. Even one in Fertonier Estate they're talking about. So still people wanting to build distilleries, and there's an infrastructure here in Scotland for that. There's an industry based around supply, yeast supply, bottles, corks, bottling machinery, casks, the whole lot. You want to do that in a remote part of Scandinavia. That infrastructure doesn't exist. You have to make that happen, and it's 10 times harder. So you have to really, really want to do it. I think that the kind of level of involvement you need to be is maybe higher. You're not going to be able to bring in consultants in the same way and that sort of thing. Not that I don't think there's absolutely fantastic things that have happened in the new whiskies in Scotland. I think one of the things I enjoy most is trying to bottle whiskies from some of the younger distilleries in Scotland and really try to kind of show how good some of these whiskies are, even at a younger age, and try and give a wee glimpse of what the future holds for some of these distilleries. I think that for many people, the Glenlivet we bottled last year was certainly a highlight for a lot of people. And there it was a 5-year-old whiskey, but it really stood up, in its own way. And I'm kind of excited to see what those guys do as things go along, But yeah, I think all these things fascinate me and interest me, and it's everyone's doing their own wee thing, and it's all a wee bit different, and that's one of the reasons I think so many of us love whiskey is that you've got these such strict rules and these 3 ingredients, and you can make so many different things from it. It's crazy. Yeah.
I know it's every day's a school day, but it's a lot of fun. Even like when touring about the distilleries yesterday, we went to where'd we go? Strathisla and Tomatin, just 2 different places. But it's not that far away from each other, but just doing completely different things and trying to get really cool different. What was there was a cognac one, there was a port one. What else did we have? We had all sorts of different things.
With the cognac port, Cabernet Sauvignon cask.
Yeah.
But a PX, which you loved.
No, it was not okay. It tastes like Quality Street, the coffee ones. Not my thing.
Well, that's good.
But yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I give
But then we had the Jamaican rum cask, Kubokin. Yeah, there was so many. Well, that was Tomatin, and then at Strathisla you've got the Chivas group, so we're trying Tullamore. We had some Caperdonach. Some of the Royal Salute stuff was pretty good as well. We had some pretty cool drams there. But yeah, it's incredible. I said at the start to show this the Little Brown Dog Glasgow distillery. Was it 2017? Yeah, it is phenomenal. And that was 50 quid. So.
Yeah, I think we were too cheap for that one because obviously it sold out immediately, and I was like, "Oh, we could have probably charged a bit more for that." I was like, big part of me just really wanted to get a single cask, single malt out there for under 50 quid, and it's not that easy, especially trying to bottle at cask strength, especially because the duty rates keep rising. But we got it done, and I think a lot of folk have enjoyed that whiskey. Again, sentimental me creeps into that bottle because I went to uni in Glasgow. I kind of felt like my formative years were there. I spent a lot of good times in the Barrowlands, and for me, that moment in my life, Glasgow was always about live music, and you just can't beat the Barras for a gig. So that's what Glasgow means to me. I love the distillery there. There's absolutely no pretension whatsoever. It is a shed and an industrial estate in Glasgow. There's not bullshit kind of wherever else there. I don't think they go on about Loch Catrin and that sort of thing. So, they just make cracking whiskey, make really good whiskey. And as a distillery I followed for a lot of years. I remember meeting Liam in the Quake Bar in Craigellachie, one of the Spirit Speyside festivals years ago. And I think the whiskey was just about to turn 3 or 2. I can't remember what year it was. And at that point, all the casks were still stored in the still house. And it's just you remember these things when you're thinking about it years later. And it's just a big part. It's why it's so hard to explain what whiskey is to any of us here. Each of these different distilleries has their own memories or bottles or whatever else. So it's cracking.
And awesome photograph. You did well there getting that picture in the puddle. It was
wet. It was so wet. It was pretty wet. So we went to Glasgow to do the video with some friends in the Hip Flask Hiking Club. So shout out to the Hip Flask Hiking Club. Awesome bunch of folk. If you ever want an example of why whiskey isn't just a bunch of old guys, it's that whiskey club. They're the most diverse mental bunch of people that I know, and they're just fantastic folk. So when we a lot of them are based in Glasgow, so we had to go to the Bond and we had to go to these places, and a lot of them are the guys you see in the video. And it started off, all right weather, and then before we just got to the Barras, it just absolutely pissed down with rain. I think that night Biffy Clyro were playing when the queue was round the block, and there's folk in like ponchos and all these things trying to survive the rain. And here we are wandering around, folk wondered what the hell was going on. Like, you know, there's these Druitt-looking people with cigar box guitars and whatever the thing is called. I keep forgetting the name of it, but the thing that you blow into has got a keyboard. And then my mate Neil McChrystal in a gold cape with a triangle. I mean, just looked like he was in day release. It was brilliant, and these folk I think assumed we would be like the support act or whatever else. So they're all cheering, and we hadn't got the labels printed yet. There'd been a sort of bit of a delay, and I think the next day I was literally driving to Copenhagen. So I just managed to print off a label on the home printer for the photos and the video, you know, it was starting to kind of bleed in the rain, you know, the kind of colours are all kind of beginning to go. So we just managed to get it and no more. The camera's looking a bit sorry for itself. It's got a bit of kind of corrosion on the flash now and all that now. We got a good drowning that day. But yeah, just that, because to get that, I was so chuffed to get that light, and then the water made the reflections more interesting. And I like photography and these things like that as well, just the hobby. So it's nice to be able to combine that with mother love, which is the whiskey. So
it's fun, isn't it? I like doing pictures and stuff for like for the distillery and for like social media and stuff. And Mike, you're really good at it as well. You get some. You've got a great. What phone do you have? This is a weird question, but your pictures are really good. I love that picture that I put up on Instagram the other day that you got of me at Tomatin. That's awesome. My hair's looking banging. That's a great.
Do you know what? I thought your hair was looking really good in that photo as well. I was like, I just had a hair done for going out.
It's just a Google Pixel. That's all it is.
There's no better way to look like an absolute tosser though than wandering around with a camera and a bottle. Like, you know, you get some funny looks. Like I was out, you'll see some photos appear on our social media of like these martinis that we did for the day, and I'm walking back to the house with a camera in one hand and a martini glass in another, and just folk driving going, what the hell is that guy doing wandering for a field with a martini?
Well, I've told the story before about when I made my youngest son stand at the roadside holding a bottle of whiskey up against a signpost. He's like, Mom, honestly, take the picture. I'm like, yeah, no. It's like, people are looking. I'm like, it's like, you just stand there a bit longer. It's fine. Just stretch a little bit higher. It's completely normal. It's fine.
Is that Williamston, wasn't it? And
yes. Yeah, I ended up having to hold it up instead. Yeah. So I just covered the tea up with the bottle, but it's totally worth it. Yeah. Totally worth it.
My kids got roped into the video for the Glenlivet because it was a school holiday or something like that, so they had to come with me. And so if you can pause when the frames, you'll see Mac's wee face peering out the van as we drive past. But I've got them in the Glenlivet distillery. Mac was holding on to the dog, and then Santa's just out of shot, and she calls the dog, so the dog runs right across the shot. So they're useful sometimes, these wee guys, you know.
Yeah, you got to put them to work.
Yeah. When Matt was 2, we were running some gin in the distillery, and Michelle, my wife's a vet, and she was working at the weekend, so I had the kids. We had to get this distillation done, and I kind of turned my back for 2 minutes and looked around, and Mac's got his finger in the stream of spirit coming out that's still at 80% alcohol. And goes, I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. And I actually, just do it one more time so I can take a photo for Mummy, and then never do it again. So yeah, but they're fun. They kind of, we went to Belgium together, and they were kind of in the shop pointing at the bottles and going, "They've got LBDs." I'm like, yeah, that's why we're here.
Oh, bless. It'd be a big deal for them seeing Daddy's bottle on the shelf somewhere that is a whole new world.
I don't know what they think, to be honest with you. I've got no idea what they think. They will watch the videos on YouTube, which I don't mind because hopefully it gets the viewer ratings up a bit, you know.
Showing all their friends.
Yeah. It's,
Ed Friday just popped on YouTube. It's a melodica. Is your
that's the word. And you know, I'll forget that immediately. In like 45 seconds, asking that question again, I'll have forgotten again.
I had kazoo in my head, but that's a different kind of thing altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, melodica. That's it. I'll try to remember. But Russell's got all the questions here. We're ignoring them. Russell, you're not on the Blether anymore. You can't come here asking all these questions. You know, you buggered off.
Exactly. I know. Come on. But we get one as a guest. He can ask his own questions. What's he asking? Good point on pricing. Yeah, where do you see that going? I guess this all kind of sums. He's asked about 3 or 4 questions, but ultimately, what he's asking is where are indies? What stage are we at? I think you kind of touched on that in terms of pricing, where everyone's kind of got their own battle to fight.
There's going to be a lag phase in anything, right? So, like, although casks are maybe a bit cheaper this year, we're not only bottling things that you buy this year, and you've got casks that have to come through the system. And we've always tried to be like as fair as we can. Like, we want people to drink whiskey. We're not here to try and rinse people. We want people to be able to feel they're getting good value out of the bottle. And so there will be this lag phase for every bottler where they've got to work their way through some stock. And obviously you can sit that down for 10 years, then that's a different thing. But and I think I saw you asking, like, well, what do you think the limit is for aging for these things? Well, for us, I honestly don't know. We're certainly not like G&M. We haven't got a plan for 100-year-old whiskey. I'm planning on being quite dead by that point, so I don't care. It's I have nothing against what Signature are doing with the 100 degrees proof range. If they can sell Walt's whiskey for that, crack on. Like, I mean, I think it's a good thing. Certainly seeing a reset, I think, across the industry, but whether that will help a lot of people, I don't know, is the honest answer. I think like where's the limit? I don't see it going back to how whiskey prices were 20 years ago. Maybe, but I don't think so. I think everything else has gone up price so much. Labor and
it's not just the liquid, is it?
It's and the duty. So much as the tax. But whether or not that will help, I don't know, because you've got to sell a lot more bottles at 30 quid than you do at 80 quid to kind of to do the same thing. So, and I'm not talking so much about bottlers here. I'm thinking about retailers and everybody else, because it becomes a volume game then. And for indies like us, we're never going to be volume producers. It's about the small, the special, the unique, and it's very hard to do that in volume, because suddenly something's not special anymore. If there's 20 casks like that wasn't special. So it's the market's so different for all. As indies, there's a lot of people that the guys in the chat here know what an independent bottler is, but the average person in the street that just wants a bottle of whiskey to give to somebody for a birthday or for Christmas doesn't necessarily know what an independent bottler is. And so they just assume that do you have all these distilleries, or did you distill this? Or Chris prevented me from posting it, but I'm still quite tempted, right? Because we did this. We had this guy comment on one of our posts just before Christmas, like, I'm fed up with like little boutique whiskey companies like you guys who just transfer it from one cask into another and then into a bottle and then charge a fortune for it. And I'm like, okay, you're stealing kind of like all their glory or whatever else. And I'm like, well, we have some skills as well, we do work hard too, not complete slackers, and just a different skill. And the big guys are looking for consistency, and that's an incredible skill. Whereas we're looking for the complete opposite. We're trying to find that little thing that's different and warrants it. And he said, I don't think you can really describe transferring it from one cask to another as a skill. And I'm like, yeah, we're not going to win this conversation here, are we? So, I changed our award from whiskey, independent bottle of the year to whiskey transferer of the year, and I think it was maybe like work shy whiskey transfer. I can't remember what it was, but Chris is like, you can't post that.
I want it. Post it on your personal page. You can't say anything there.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that then. Maybe I'll do that, and you can share it on the Inverurie Whiskey Shop page.
I mean, let's touch on that.
Don't understand what an indie is trying to do or does, but we're here for the people that just really want good whiskey.
Yeah. On that, we're talking about indie bottlers. We're now talking to one half of the best independent bottler 2024. So
congratulations.
Well, sadly, the good half isn't here tonight. He just gets stuck with me. So
I would love to see Chris coming on to Blether and having a chat with us.
He's coming to the Glasshouse tasting with me in Edinburgh on Saturday.
Is he?
He's never been to a whiskey tasting that we've done before.
Is that the Battle of the Bottlers? Is that against
Battle of Bottlers? Us
up against Woodrow?
Do you know, I'm actually getting nervous about that as well, because like, holy shit, they do some good whiskies, and I'm like, I don't want to lose every round. That'd be quite sad.
Do you know what you're putting up?
Do you know what? I shouldn't be that. I should be organised, because we're literally. I need to, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. It's tomorrow's problem. I think it's just as much about what we've got stock of as anything else.
So is it like a competition, or?
It's a bit of fun. It's a whiskey tasting in a hotel, and rather than just being one of us, we do the two of us, and then do 3 casks each, and have a little bit of a kind of jokey battle of the bottlers type thing.
I hope it's just the whiskey doing the talking, because if you end up in a physical fight, you've got no chance.
She kicked my ass, like hands down. Like Ignacio's like, "Oh, can you send a photograph of you pretending to box?" And as I sent a photo, and then here's a photo of Meg actually fully kitted up with gloves, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, yeah, I would definitely go ass hand."
She's a professional weightlifter, isn't she, or was, or semi-pro?
I think she does very well. Anyway, whatever. So yeah. So no, I think it'll be good fun. That's one of the things I love about this industry, is that it is like such a cooperative industry. You know, we do look out for each other. You know, none of us feel like competitors. It's like we just work together. We're doing our own things, but you know, it's nice to see other folks succeed, and you know, they're very lucky to work in this industry with so many cracking people. You know,
awesome.
Yeah.
We've got David Muir on Facebook. He was one of the guys at our academy where he came to the accommodation, did some cocktails for us. He's rolled in after giving up on dry January. So well done, Dave. You've managed it halfway through, which is
2 weeks.
more than
well
I managed. It's pretty good.
One of us. I thought about coming on here and dry January, but it doesn't really give the right message, does it? Every month in moderation. Some months not so much in moderation, but yeah.
100%. Moderation is a relative term, isn't it?
I think I probably drink less whiskey now that it's my job than before. You know, so much you end up doing just on the nose. So, but it's still something I enjoy, you know. And there's a couple of 100 bottles open here, so you've got to drink it, haven't you?
It's not going to go to waste, is it? Yeah. I've certainly noticed it since Killian's been on the go that I've drank a lot less, but probably enjoyed what I do drink more.
Just drink less, but drink better, you know?
Yeah.
And there's so often there's like a lot of cheap whiskey floating about these days, and you know, I've got WhatsApp groups with my mates, and they're like, look at the price of this, some of this stuff, and you think, oh, that's really cheap. And then you think, but do I actually want it? Am I gonna drink that? You know, I would probably rather have one really good bottle of whiskey than 3 cheap ones that I'm not going to enjoy as much, you know. So it's changing all the time. So
yeah.
I think.
I mean,
there you go. I was going to say, like, the whole dry January thing, like, you're kind of cheating yourself, because like you're just giving up for a month and then just going back to completely normal drinking habits. So it's not really that beneficial to your health, I don't think. Like, if you want to change how you drink, you just drink less. Like, just, you know, better, drink more, like, better quality, but like less of it. You don't just give up for a month and then go back to normal. It just seems a bit false economy, to be honest.
Yeah. You never see these like interview these wee women at like 105 years old, and what's the secret to longevity? Well, I stopped drinking every month in January. I usually have a little nip before bed each night. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
It's always little old ladies. You never hear the little old mannies that live to be about 115 and they have a drama every night.
I think women generally tend to live a bit longer. So.
Yeah. Which is surprising because, like, you know, you've got like force little wee humans out your body. Like, that's like pretty like horrific. And we still manage to live longer.
You only do one at a time, though. We have to force millions of them out of our body every time.
Are you even going to go down that road? Where's your rectal glove?
I'll drop some off next time I see you, Kat. You can sort them out.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on from that conversation.
Aye.
Yeah.
David's 106 now, so happy birthday, David. It might just feel like that talking to us, but
well, yeah. Well, so good job you gave up dry January, because you wouldn't have got to that age without, if you'd stuck to it. I think we've missed. Willis asked ages ago. I think it was Willis, and I keep meaning to go back up to it. If you're doing any festivals this year, sorry if it wasn't you, Willis, but I think it was you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we're doing, at the top of my head just now, and it's already in the diary. We've got Spirit Speyside Festival. Obviously, big local one for us. We've got Campbelltown Whisky Festival, going back to do the Mark Watt Whisky and Friends Day, which was just a hoot last year. So got invited back amazingly. So we're going to go back, despite all the things we said about each other that day. And then we're going to Isla for the Indie Festival in Isla. I think before all that is the Independent Bottlers Festival in Leith. So Chris and my brother Ali will be there. Sadly, I'm pretty gutted to miss that one, but I won't be in the country. So, because I think I'd love to see that one. And then obviously the premiere of the film that we are in. So who knows what that's going to be like?
It's a sequel, isn't it? What a Life.
Yeah. So it's I think the day they came to visit us was like one of the wettest days ever, and we were just in a big tin shed, and like the acoustics were fucking awful. There's just like I think it's easing off a bit now. Let's ask another question and try and force out an answer. I'm like, yeah, and then here comes the rain again. Yeah. He's like, we better get some video of like rain and shit, so folk understand what the hell that noise is in the background with you,
No. Yeah. I think Russell's going down to Indie Fest. He's put a very excited comment on Indie Fest in March. I've got tickets, so I'll be down. It's 15th, isn't it? 15th of March.
I think so, yeah.
It's David Stark.
I think about it, like there's a lot of choice of whiskey festivals these days, and there's a lot of fantastic whiskey festivals, right? And I always feel that no matter what indie it is, you've got an indies table at a whiskey festival, you're going to get cracking stuff, right? Because largely single cask stuff. It's not under the desk; it's just there, right? If you've got a hall full of independent bottlers, fantastic. I think last year the Isla Whisky Festival, we were on at the same time as the Port Ellen Day, so you could pay was 150 quid or 200 quid to go to Port Ellen, have a look round, but not get into distillery and get one dram. Or you could come to the Indie Festival for 25, 30 quid and have an all-you-can-drink buffet of only the very good single cask whiskies. Why would you not do that? And we were in a nice dry town hall, not in a pissing wet courtyard. So it was a no-brainer,
Mm-hmm.
So the Indie Festival is going to be absolutely fantastic. So it's so many good festivals. Hoping to get down to the other indie festival in Newcastle again this year. We missed it last year, unfortunately. Go visit the guys at the Fife Whisky Festival. So we're not going to be exhibiting there, but we're going to pop along and say hello. So it's not easy because we are a small team. There is me and Chris. My brother helps out every now and again. We've got Megan doing a bit of work in the warehousing and the kind of paperwork side. Alex helps us out a wee bit with the kind of label designs and making sure everything's sort of formatted correctly for the printers. But we've not got a team of folk that can go out to festivals. There's a lot of money in getting to these festivals. Travel, accommodation, the cost of being there, and then the cost of pouring stock. And it's so we just can't say yes to absolutely every event because we'd be away every weekend and everything else, and we have actual work to do. We do the bottling and the labeling and everything else that still needs to be done.
It's a very important skill job, moving liquid from one cask to another.
Yeah, we're whiskey transferring. Well, that's it done. if we're disappearing all the time, still the work needs to be done. I think Chris reminds me of this fairly regularly when I've fired off again. Here he is by himself once more in the warehouse, bottling and labelling all in his Todd. I think it's one of the reasons we struggled to get a bottle out. I think our first bottling was out in May last year, because I wasn't in the country for the first 4 months of the year, really. So it's trying to get the balance right. And so it's easier if you've got salespeople to go at these things, but this is our story to tell, so we need to be there,
Yeah, that's what I like about the festivals is more often than not, it's guys like yourself or Woody and Megan and guys who are doing the bottling. So if you have questions, you're face to face with the people and you're not getting. But sometimes, when it's all kind of big brands or distilleries, it's somebody who's paid to say what they want them to say behind the table. It's a bit of a marketing kind of spin on it.
So many of these folk end up like super passionate about the industry.
Yeah.
And there's other folk as well. They've been with some of these companies for decades, and it's hard to tell where they end and the company they represent begins. So there's definitely it's not just big companies, little companies, But but I think it's still part of that kind of whiskey fabric, if you like. And we often get some people messaging us and say, "Oh, can I speak to somebody about this, whatever else?" I'm like, "Well, there's me or Chris," and it's like every now and again I'll feel a bit fancy, and I can't be bothered dealing with something. I'll just say, email Chris at whatever, and he'll and then just think I'm some sort of like social media person or whatever else, and not realize that it's just us, the janitor, the whiskey bottler, the taster, all these, the blender. It's the same people, you gotta wear a lot of hats when you do this job.
Just forward your query onto the blending team at
I guess a lot of people won't realise that about you guys. No, sorry, carry on.
Just going to say, Ed Friday's opened the LBD Tamnavulin, the pink whiskey. Oh my, he says. So that's the first time you bought it from us. Was it last week you were in, Ed, or maybe a couple of weeks ago? And he's just opened it tonight, so he's enjoying that.
Thanks very much.
Awesome.
Good fun. I like that whiskey.
My colleague at work got one for Christmas too. She was showing me the other day. She said, "Have you heard of these guys, these LBD guys?" So I'm like, I'm aware of them, yes. So Julie, if you're watching, she was very excited about it. And she loves dogs. So she loved when she found out what they all stood for, the little brown dog.
That's
nice.
It's less so in the show, less so on the whiskey side, but the gin. And let's not forget, you've got a gin as well. It's not all about the whiskey. And rum, and various other casks of Calvados and brandy and pretty cool stuff. But we have a lot of people in the shop. Little brown dog. Oh, it's got a dog on the label. We'll buy that because they've got a dog. And it's a nice wee kind of. It's a niche market, but it's quite it's a good brand. And I know the story behind the brand is that Banksy in that, but it appeals to a lot of people in that way where it's such an easy point to sell. You're like, well, I'm humming in here, and it's a lot LBD, little brand. It's got a dog in it. We'll go for that one because they've got a dog, and it's probably like a little.
Fucking hate dogs. We'll go for this other one.
I don't know if Janice is still watching, but
your gin was pretty much the only one that I would sell at Mike's shop. Cause I'm not a massive gin fan. I just liked your one, so I was just like, yeah, I like this one. So it's just.
I think everything we do, whether it's the gin, the rum, Calvados, cognac, it always comes back to whiskey because that's like our thing, and it's our reference point for so many things. And our first gins that we made, Project AFG, another fucking gin. It was really born of that kind of frustration as a whiskey person of seeing all this stuff coming in, and really hard to sort of separate the wood from the trees. And I think one of the things that was kind of really happening was going to Pete and Rich at Lost Loch Distillery, meeting the guys at Blackford, and just realizing there's a lot of really, really good things happening in gin. It's really super easy as a whiskey person to be absolutely completely cynical about gin, but there's a lot of really good stuff happening there, and it was about trying to sort of celebrate some of that good stuff and like get folk to kind of maybe ask a few more questions about how things were being made and that sort of thing. So I love messing about with our stills. Obviously, last year we went to the big still, big for us, 350 litre still. We started with a 10 litre still in Chris's garage. I think that project DFG was like 150 bottles that were small bottles, and it took us like 200 something hours of distilling to get this. It's the kind of thing you could do in half a run now or quarter of a run now. So it's but it's all the cutting points and the setting times and temperatures and everything else. It's all relevant, and we gives us an opportunity to really kind of build something from a base completely. When we get the whiskey, we can do so much with it with wood or time. That's our input. Whereas with the gin, we can do that and more. And I'm quite proud of the gin that we make. And one of the things I enjoy about really good whiskey is the texture. It's one of the things I think that separates. Whiskey could smell amazing, the flavor could be incredible, but if the texture's not there, just the experience isn't there in the same way.
Yeah.
Same with gin. So trying to build texture into gin, and that's not the easiest thing to do. And I do think there are easier ways of making gin, but because we're so fucking pedantic, we're gonna keep plowing on with the hard way to do things because that's how we think is the better way to do it. And I think there are a few whiskey people that can maybe recognise that what we're doing with gin is a wee bit different, and maybe it isn't just a bunch of dried old shit thrown in a still and fingers crossed. It is constructed from quite a detailed thought process and an understanding of distillation rather than we bought this shit on Temu. So it's I think the gin takes a year to make because we grow and forage the ingredients in the farm, and that side of things I really enjoy. Like it's a family event to go out and tap the birch trees, go and pick wood sorrel with the kids and these things like that. It's just being outside and enjoying the part of the world that we're in. And so I'd miss that if we didn't do the gin. Don't think a botanical whiskey is really what anyone wants. So,
well, they put juniper berries in the whiskey. At Tomato.
I had a Royal Ushka.
It was nice.
So it was
that at Tomatin?
At Tomatin, yeah.
There's a Hill of the Juniper, isn't it? It's called.
Yeah. So when they were boiling the still back in the day, they would use juniper trees to burn because they're smokeless, so they didn't give away their position. But also they would they would crush juniper into it with rosemary and honey. I think they had in it as well, and it created a really nice kind of botanical whiskey. But that's how they would have drank it. They weren't drinking it after 5 or 10 years in the cask. They were drinking it with fruits or herbs or berries crushed into it to add that flavour. It was pretty cool. Dave Ferguson's on. He's saying that your gin definitely hits the spot. And I think it works even better with a bit of Diet Pepsi in it as well.
I do. Honestly, I still remember that night. I actually remember doing a tasting with you, Mike. But had that mental blank where I managed to completely blank out having done a tasting there before. But then that night I'm like, there's this guy on the internet and he like mixes our gin with like Fanta and shit. And Dave's like, it's me.
We were all looking at Dave thinking, oh my God, it's definitely Dave he's talking about.
I think it's fantastic. Like, I just love to see folk experiment and do things a bit differently. And if that's how you enjoy it, then crack on. Like, I know a very well-respected whiskey guy who drinks his whiskey with laymonade. And, if anyone found out, they would be like, but that's how he enjoys it. That's how he understands it. So at the end of the day, you pay your money, you do what you want with it. But we did make a cocktail with the, if you can call it that, with the gin in the summer when they did the release of the Murray Cup. So yes, you know what? It was not as horrendous as it sounds. Like, it was actually quite good. So it was again, that's a very northeast thing. So it was about trying to bring us. Like, whiskey's about a sense of place, but so is the gin, and it's about trying to tell folk about Aberdeenshire as well. And You know, there's,
Well,
there's now folk in Singapore drinking Aberdeenshire gin. Probably could place Aberdeenshire in the map. There's a lot of folk in Scotland could place Aberdeenshire in the map. I mean, I was moving up here and I was in a furniture shop down in Stirling, and it was a kind of national chain. There's a bed we kind of quite liked, but rather than buying it in Stirling and shipping it up, we thought, do you have a store in Aberdeen? And the girl's like, where's Aberdeen? I'm like, really? Really?
No.
Ed's tried the Murray Cup, so I'm very impressed. Very impressed. So your wife didn't enjoy it quite so much, but as I say to my kids, well, at least you tried it. You know. And Jeremy, we've not got any cats in the label yet, but maybe we have to try and do that. You know. We did joke about
oh my god! Right.
But mashup, we'd have to do something with cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
Or release a Glengarry. Release a Glengarry and put cats on it, because obviously, like, you know, that dead famous distillery cat. Do a Glengarry covering cats.
Yeah. Well, there's a Glengarry coming from us, so it's our sister cask to the Strong Water Company one, but we'll be bottling ours at cask strength. So, we've had a chat about what we're going to do with the label with that one, but I won't spill the beans just yet. I like the tease thing too much to be able to just tell you guys what's going on and everything. So.
Is it going to be? It will be tomatoes. We always seem to Glengarry just seems to be tomato based. Anytime somebody releases a Glengarry, there's always some sort of tomato reference.
Yeah, no, we're staying away from the tomato references. It's too obvious.
Okay, that is exciting. Look out for that one.
I'm going to jump back because poor Rick will think we're ignoring him. He's asked twice now. He's asked, saying that there's no LBD in America, certainly in California. Can we get some over there? How could he get?
Yeah, I think we start our own smuggling ring. So you guys are in the circle of trust tonight, so let's just do that. You know, kind of mules, whatever else, to bring LBD into America. Yeah, I kind of always want to do what we do sustainably and not bite off more than we can chew. And America is massive. So it's a sort of, I think it is. We're having conversations with people, and something will happen hopefully this year. But it's going to be state by state, you know, and I can only be in so many places at once. So we'll see what happens. But I would love to get some into America. There are a few guys that will ship it out there. I don't know if you guys do, but there's a couple of guys now will ship it out there. But I mean, I wouldn't pay the postage.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? I mean, people ask us, and we have got a way of doing it. But I mean, you start saying prices, people tend to not. Or they can buy by the case. And if we've got like a group of guys over, maybe they're on a hunting trip or a touring trip, staying in a castle somewhere, we do a tasting for them. And they say, well, put it all in one container or the one box and ship it as a group, because that's far cheaper per bottle than doing it. Well, so we do it now and then, not often.
Met quite a few Americans at the Christmas markets, and they're like, oh, we haven't got enough room in our luggage. I'm like, just throw out your pants. I mean, you can buy more of them when you go home. So then you've got space.
Wrap it. Yeah. Wear 20 pairs of pants, and that frees up your space in your luggage.
Depends how far you're flying. I wouldn't fancy flying away to California in economy class wearing 20 pairs of knickers. Rick, you'll just have to come and visit us in the short term. That's probably the easiest way to do it, certainly for us. So come and say hi.
Rick's also been spying on my post day because he asked earlier on what new books have I got in my pile. So just today, this guy arrived. This guy doing the rounds. So
are you for real? Mine arrived today.
They may be posting batches. I don't know.
I think we ordered it at the same time as well.
That's going to be my reading tonight. So
that's good. It makes a change from those sort of colouring in books that you normally have, Mike. So that's good.
Never just people think I'm buying it for Killian. It's like, oh no, that's for me.
Chris reads his daughter every night, and he's been reading Sand and Steel, which is the build-up to D-Day, quite a bit this thick. So when Poppy starts speaking, that'll be interesting. So I have an encyclopedic knowledge of D-Day. Yeah.
Wow, that's intense bedtime reading. It would put you to sleep, wouldn't it?
Well, he probably just falls asleep very quickly. But Chris says, I'd rather read something I enjoy rather than some sort of crap about puppies or something. So,
like the Gruffalo though, like you can't beat the
imagine
Gruffalo.
doing that.
yeah.
I've just finished reading Operation Mincemeat, but I didn't read it to Killian. It's like for myself.
Okay. Who wrote that one?
It was, I can't remember the name of the author, but he it's about the put the body into the sea with plans.
Yeah, no, Operation Mincemeat.
Yeah.
I think the debate comes about how much impact it actually had. In the grand scheme of things, and
it's a cool story.
Overplayed somewhat. I mean, this is terrible. Once hijacked a whiskey tasting. It wasn't even my own whiskey tasting, and we ended up speaking for about 40 minutes about the war in Italy in 1943-44, and why they didn't get to Rome before Christmas. And then somebody's like, actually, can we get back to the whiskey? Because this is, either fascinating or incredibly boring. So yeah, it's really bad. See when you get really into a subject, like, so that's whiskey, that's obviously everyone here is in that. Everyone's always got something else, haven't they? And for Chris, it's like definitely Second World War. Working with Chris for the last 6 years, I've been definitely afflicted by that as well. But also like other boring subjects, like cars and photos and things. But I'm sure everyone here has got some sort of other quirk that they have got obsessed about over the years. But if I get into subject, I really want to get into subject. So. Aye.
I know, it's interesting. I bet if you asked, actually, everyone has got something they either collect that's a bit weird or some sort of like history thing they're into, or like genre of something they're into. I don't know what my one would be. I collect vintage Ladybird books, and I'm really into witchcraft, like the witch trials history. So maybe that's my weird ones.
Well, you let it slip that you're actually into witchcraft there. That was the
really into witchcraft. Really into witchcraft, yeah.
I think years ago I used to go out to Switzerland, and I was friends with the importer for the Maltman. So I used to go out there and do some stuff with the Maltman and these whiskey ships. But Rennie would maybe put us up, or we'd go to his house for a couple of nights. And he had obviously been really into model building. So like little Warhammer things, but also like, tanks and planes and stuff like this. And then he had like paintings of some of these, the real things. So there's a submarine and a tank and a plane. And then some of them were signed by the crews and the captains and things like this. And I'm wandering around and I'm going, German. Like, Rennie, I know that Switzerland was supposed to be neutral during the war, but, the Germans were the bad guys, yeah? And he's like, yes, but it's a better machinery. So, okay.
I used to live on an estate up in Sutherland, and the laird was the son of Sir Alan Clark, who did the Alan Clark Diaries, Margaret Thatcher's defence minister. Mm-hmm. And his son used to collect tanks, like army tanks, and sort of quadrat things. Yeah, there was like lots of different sizes. There was a really, really big one. There was like wee ones. He just had loads and loads. They were just everywhere, like all around about the estate, because the estate runs straight down to Loch Erible, which is like one of the deepest sea lochs in Scotland. So he was ex-military, so he used to kind of do like sort of military contracts and stuff. And every now and again, submarines would just appear in the loch, or like a Chinook would just land in the estate. And he used to do all the driving lessons, like the Land Rover driving lessons. So you'd have like just Marines just like doing exercises on the estate. Like this guy chapped to my door once. He like, can we get some water? And like all these like Marines were just stood in my garden because they'd just been like jogging past my house. It was just really, really surreal. But he was a raving alcoholic. So like he'd go out in the morning, like
what's his address?
But like, because like so we lived in the farm cottage, like all the like sheep handling systems and stuff were just like next door in the shed. So like you'd kind of go walking through, and he'd just go past on his quad bike with like a shotgun, like just completely off his face. He'd be like kind of like ducking as you went past. But yeah, very, very eccentric, but a lot of cool shit. I was just sorry, I was just listening to that and then also twitching.
like this when I'm reading Jeremy's comments, like U.S. General for personal glory, wasn't it? Like, no, Mark Clark was not trying to get personal glory for Rome. The real reason was because we didn't have enough shipping. And we don't have enough shipping because we're preparing for D-Day. So we'll have that conversation on a separate chat another day. It's all about shipping. It's all about shipping. So it's definitely a deflection. Chris and I were in Normandy last year.
Nice.
Primarily to look at Calvados producers and visit some Calvados producers and not only bring home some Calvados, but bring home some Calvados casks for the whiskey. But it just so happened to coincide with the 80th anniversary for D-Day. So we did take a 1942 Willis Jeep with us. We'll be going back to visit some Calvados producers again in the 6th of June this year. Total coincidence once more, but in a 1942 Dodge this time around, so that'd be fun.
Wow.
And then try and smuggle some casks back and pretend that they're war props or something,
It was. I've just looked up my book. Was Ben McIntyre was the author?
Okay.
I think he did it.
More Calvados coming this year as well. So I think about 2 or 3 casks of Calvados coming back that will probably stagger out over the next couple of years.
I've just poured this guy.
The
Coca-Cola cask. The 93.
It's obscenely black, that stuff, isn't it? I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, we had to save 2 bottles of that for Chris's wedding, and then he forgot to take them to his wedding. It was cracking cast that. I don't know if you tried the more recent one, but it's just even more nuanced. I think the extra years in the wood have just made that bit of difference, and then but really deserves time in the glass and a decent temperature. You want it a bit warmer, It's if it's out in the cold, it doesn't do as well, and it doesn't come to life in the same way. But I think when folk are looking for good value, a 30-year-old single cask cognac at 75 quid. I mean, imagine if we could do single malt, single casks, 75 quid. So, Jeremy, I forgive you about your misconceptions about Mark Clark by drinking the chain pier. So you're forgiven, all's forgiven. I think it comes back to love of just fermentation generally, and I think my father's side of the family is French, so there's that kind of always pulling us in a wee bit there. But I just find the whole thing fascinating. And when you really get into Calvados and you understand the different production methods and the different the different use of pear depending on where you are. Obviously, the Cotentin Peninsula use much more pear. In Pays d'Auge, I think it's up to like 5%. I can't remember so much as that. Where depends, producer dependent, and then this pot distillation versus column distillation thing is exactly the same as we see in whiskey. So you get this far greater depth, intensity from the pot distillation than you do from the column distillation, and we just don't get much good Calvados in this country. So to be able to really kind of just folk have never tried it. What is this, And then you let them try it, and you think, and some of them go, ooh, like, especially when you're giving it to wee old ladies at Christmas markets that are thinking it's gonna be some sort of sugary sweet apple flavored thing. But yeah, we've definitely done our bit to convert. Hello, Ryan. A few folk to Calvados over the years, and we'll continue to kind of fight the good fight for Calvados. Plus, I think the casks make absolutely stunning whiskey. I think some highlight whiskies for me over the last 20 years I've enjoyed have been the Springbank Calvados, 6 years in bourbon, 6 years in Calvados, which is absolutely stunning. And then the one of the Arran Festival bottles that they did was a Calvados cask, full maturation, just stunning liquid. So we're trying.
Was it a liquid you had from this cask? I think it was
so there was a liquid that went into that cognac cask. The previous cognac that we just done, we put an Ard layer into that. So Ard layers unpeated Ardmore. And I just think that'd be quite an interesting. That cask's had a journey. So that it was originally like a bourbon hogshead, and it had been stored at another warehouse. And then when we built our first warehouse, it came back to us, but it also had a band missing for some time. And so this thing arrived in the lorry propped up like this to stop it leaking. And I think it lost like 10 litres on the journey up to us, which was annoying. And so we just, the only cask we had at that time that was worth putting something into was just an ex-Deanston barrel. So that tells you a lot that it lost a shit ton of liquid, because it gone from a 250 litre hogshead into a 200 litre barrel without really much stress, and was in there for a period of time. So it wasn't going to be a single cask anyway, because we changed cask type. So if I'd put it into another refill bourbon hogshead, it could still be a single cask, but putting it into a barrel, it no longer was. So that was then something, when we've got a good cask, like we've just freshly emptied a cognac cask, you don't want it lying around for ages. You want to get it used. So you've got in your mind the casks that are going to require finishing at some point in time, whether that's immediately or whether that can wait a couple of years and then get finished. Because there's some casks the wood is just not going to give any more. They've done their oxidative reduction, but there's nothing more for the wood to give. So you're trying each time to kind of think about the distillates and how they're going to work in different wood types. So I felt the Ardlair was going to be a decent match for the cognac cask, versus something maybe more robust or peaty. Certainly not a big fan of, like swamping whiskies with wood. I think a lot of the finishes that we've done tend to be more on the lighter touch side of things. I think it's almost a shame to kind of mask the history of that liquid. So say you've had it in a cask for 10 years, that's done something for 10 years. If you then dump it into really intense Oloroso or whatever else, and you just kill it dead with after 2 years finishing in this Oloroso, it's only about the Oloroso. It's not our style of whiskey. I think we tend to do as a first fill finish, so a fresh sherry cask or a fresh Calvados cask or whatever else, Pinot de Chant done, port. Usually that's quite a short first finish, so up to about 9 months to 12 months, usually about 6-8 months, even as short as 2 months. We then use that cask again, but for a much longer finish. So almost like approaching like a secondary maturation. So it's trying to get that balance, and that's the tricky part. That's the whiskey transferring skill coming in, or complete lack thereof. But it's about trying to kind of build something that's balanced between what that whiskey did before and what it is now. But don't just finish whiskey for the sake of finishing it because it'll sell better, or make it diet purple to make it sell better. It's much more about using, just trying to make that whiskey as good as it could be, make it something a bit more special, make it better. And that's a tricky thing. Something, it's like this whiskey's already good, but could it be better? Because you could make it a hell of a lot worse. That's the other thing. So it's that tightrope. And one of the difficult decisions to do sometimes with whiskies is do nothing. You kind of like put the decision off, and I've had whiskies that have just switched on after 3 years where you felt there wasn't something quite right, but changing the cask maybe wasn't the right thing to do either. And so you're trying to preserve something that was special about that cask. So you very easily lose that by changing cask types. But deferring it for that decision for another 6 months, another 12 months can just sometimes give you a bit of time to see what's happening.
Listen, I've never seen an Ardlair in a cognac, Calvados cask. Sorry, and Willis is asking.
Ardlair's got in the cognac. I think I've got in the I've lost track of what's in the Calvados as well. I've got some Highland Park in Calvados. Again, I'm trying to recreate that experience for the Springbank. I haven't got a lot of Springbank kicking about. I can dump it in a Calvados casks, unfortunately. But that little bit of peat with the apple just works really, really well. So
yeah,
we'll see what evolves from that.
Exciting.
Willis, I don't know when the Ardlair cognac cask is going to come out. I only put it in the cognac cask in December after we bottled or November, I think it was, after we bottled the cognac. So I don't know. I've got a tasting of it scheduled for next month, so we'll see what it's doing. But probably towards the end of the year, I would imagine. Could be longer. I don't know. First Calvados of the year, I don't know. It's been coming from France for the last 3 months, so who knows? But we'll kind of keep plugging away with that. It usually takes us about, the whiskies sell pretty quickly, but to sell a cask of Calvados for us is usually a bit of a slower sell. But we don't mind. We just love the stuff too much, and we want to share it with people, and maybe a few years from now, a lot of folk will be raring for Calvados.
Yeah, it's the start of it. The start of the new obsession. It'll be Calvados. It won't be rum. It won't be tequila. It'll be Calvados. The only time I ever tried it was your one in the shop, and that was the first. You had the mic, didn't you?
The white port one, yeah.
The white port one. That's the only time I've ever tried it, but it's different. It's not like anything I've ever tried before, but it's good.
It's harder to explain. It's kind of like this kind of really, really intense cider. There's a Sauterne cask we've bought, and it's just nectar. It's like drinking honey. So I'm looking forward to getting that one out.
I think you're right though, because you expect it to be sweet. Like, I don't know why I thought it was going to be sweet. I think you think of I don't know. You just assume it's going to be like a.
Yeah, I think it's designed as a palate cleanser, isn't it? So I mean, you normally drink it as part of a big meal, and you'd have a shot of it between courses, and you'd say trou normand, basically make a little hole. It's not the best way to advertise it. It basically burns a hole for the next food course. But so it tends to be that kind of sharper. So I think it works really, really well as like a cheese board. So like forget the port and these things like that. You've got that little bit of sweetness, but you've got that sharpness, and it cuts through like the really rich cheese. And that was a revelation for me. And it makes a cracking cocktail, especially when you mix it 50-50 with Springbank, isn't it, Mike?
It makes it. It's absolutely superb.
That was wonderful. That was one of those kind of weird, kind of online COVID-y type things, wasn't it? And
that was your second Blether with me, and you were in the tasting room upstairs. Russell was stuck at home, and we set up. We thought, we'll do a kind of wee in-house kind of live Blether, and we're talking. I think it was the Calvados we're talking about, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool with a nice kind of spirit that's got a bit of funk or appley kind of funkiness? And you're like, well, if you've got a Springbank, we'll try it. Fuck you. Cracked open, and Tony was behind because she was giving Andrew a lift home. She's behind the camera, like, cut, stop now. It's like, no, we're too far now. And
then we came back you gave me a lift back, and we had to have about 1,100 whiskies after that as well. So
after that, in that room you're in now, I think.
Yeah. Who knows?
I remember when you delivered this the 93 to us. We had just got, I can't remember just before or just after. Ian McElwain kind of came in, and he's a friend of Russell's who's been on the academy with us and done a lot of photos for us. He did a book on Ardmore. He did the Bottled History book.
Okay, yeah.
And he makes cheese, so he's taken some cheese in for Russell, and he was like, it would go really nice with a brandy or something like, French, because the French cheese style he was making, I think it was a brie. And we're like, well, funnily enough, we've just got this in the shop. It was during lockdown, so customers weren't allowed in the shop, but they were allowed just to the front of it, if I remember right. And so we just cracked open this bottle and poured a couple of drams and started eating this cheese. And it was just, the combination was just phenomenal. But I remember Russell took the cheese home in his bag, and while he was through the house prepping the tea, his dog got into the bag and demolished the cheese before he got any more of it. It was absolutely I'm not sure if he's still watching or not, but he loves to tell that story of him posing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jeez. Danny Hebbington is asking if you've got any plans for a Manzanilla finish. It seems to be quite popular.
Yeah, no, we're doing something quite cool. I just trying to work in my head how much to tell you about this. We're doing something quite different.
Just tell us all.
Casks. We're getting some special casks made, and I won't say more than that, but it's going to be pretty cool. So keep an eye out for that. The plan for those would be some finish, some full maturation. So we'll see what comes from there. But that's something we're working directly with the cooperage for, to try and create something that an idea in mind. So that'll be fun. finishing peat, the next peat gas. Yeah. So Scott, I've actually got a full maturation Isla cask Speyside whiskey that will be one of the ones that comes out in the first half of this year, and it's quite fun. I remember I pulled about 30 or 40 cask samples, and I was working my way through them, and I'm making, if I'm making bottling decisions, or if I'm making decisions about longer term decisions, we don't tend to do that in the warehouse. We'll have a quick nose sometimes and make it, we can have a quick idea what's going on, especially when all the casks come to us. We tend to do that. We weigh them, we ABV them, and we nose them, maybe taste them. But I don't tend to make decisions in the warehouse because it's often quite cold, so the liquid isn't quite there. Remember Mike came with the Whisky Academy once to visit us, and it was like the hottest day in Aberdeen history, and all the whiskey was sitting about 20 degrees C, and none of it was very nice. So temperature has a big impact in all these sorts of things.
I think Willis and Jeremy were on that one, who are watching tonight, I think.
Yeah, it was just really weird. It was like 20 degrees, the liquid. So you got to bring it room temperature and make the decisions at that, and just not have the distractions of other things going on. And it's very easy to get carried away in someone else's warehouse and think everything's amazing, but it's doing it. You got to do it a wee bit clinically at that stage. So this sample I was coming through, and was like, this is the wrong sample. I've mislabeled this. So we go back in and we draw another sample, and no, it was peated, but it was not peated distillate, and it's single cask. So it's did a bit of digging, ex-Isla cask from this producer. Sorry not to give away too much just now, but it's good fun, really good fun. That did something many years ago before it was a company called Project Peat, and actually Pete smoked a cask to try and make a peated Glenfarclas, and you did these little tasting sort of sampling kits with various different peats to try and explain that peat congeners are not just peaty. Peaty is not a flavour descriptor, and that there's so much more going on in peat, and the kind of environmental conditions, the plants that are growing, and then the way that they decompose will all impact on the compounds you get from the peat, and then how that translates into spirit. And then beyond that, there's so many more things. Everyone talks about ppm and peat, and it's purely relating to the malt itself, and that ppm will deteriorate depending on how you mash, how long you ferment for. Your fermentation time has a massive impact on phenol content. Probably the biggest impact in my mind would be how you distill it. So your cutting points, how hard you run that still, and then finally maturation. So all these things will degrade phenols anyway. So there's only been a couple of companies like I'm thinking of Anok, and I can't remember who the other guys were that did the ppm in the liquid as a comparison.
So it was somebody fairly recently. I remember that because
this was all part of Project Peat. Was this kind of thing? What actually weirdly ended up on Channel 4 and some sort of cookery program discussing this with some sort of fairly minor celebrity, and I talked at length about xylem foam content and sphagnum moss degradation versus, say, like heather and sedges, and why that would be impacted climatically, and then even within microclimates within peat bogs, and the difference in the kind of Isla climate versus a northeast Scotland climate, the aspergillus that produces the vanillin compounds, whatever else, and they edited it to like 30 seconds of me just sniffing a scallop for longer. And then this guy going, so what you're telling me, right, is that peat from the west coast of Scotland tastes completely different from peat from the east coast of Scotland. Fantastic. And that was it. And it's like, wow, that was just like a day of my life I'm not getting back.
Oh no.
Has that been on TV yet then?
Oh, years ago. It was on a Channel 4 program. I can't remember even what it's called. And this guy was like, it was like Jimmy Oller's mate or something like that. And he'd gone to Ardbeg and got peat out of the kiln there, and I got peat out the Glengarry kiln. So God knows how old that stuff was. And I think so that would have been St Fergus peat, really, wouldn't it have been? So, so is 99% of all the peat and all the bloody peated malts. I
think people don't realise how important Aberdeenshire is as for producing that. As you say, it's massive amount of peat. And the barley as well is about 60% of the barley is from up in our wee corner.
Yeah,
Nuts.
yeah, it's an important whiskey part of the world, and I think it's why it's
Yeah.
nice to be in this corner of Scotland. Really, it's one of the things that really pushed me further into the world of whiskey was you're completely surrounded by distilleries. You're surrounded by the people that are growing barley. There's a hell of a knowledge in this corner of the country for whiskey, and I learned so much from farmers around about us. I mean, about 30% of all the Golden Promise that's grown for malting for whiskey is grown around about Monymusk.
Right.
So there's a lot of knowledge in this corner. I mean, the name the Geary itself, relates to that. So it's just nice to kind of be part of that in this wee corner, and it's good.
Yeah.
100%. I just realized I'm just reading Ryan commenting on smelling the through spirit. Is that right? Are you 8 Doors Distillery, Ryan?
Yeah, Ryan's 8
Doors. Yeah. Cool. Nice to have you on, Ryan. I didn't click the name until I read that comment there. He was nosing a new recipe through the Spirit Safe today, and the first low wines running through had an intense cidery Calvados note. Very different, but must share an ester type. That's quite cool.
That's very. Also, come on the Blether, please.
He'd be far more interesting than me. In fact, do you want to take over, Ryan? Get your camera hooked up. Talk about hectares.
Expect a call, Ryan, from Kat. If some random from called Kat phones you up, you know what.
Do you know what? I am going to actually social media stalk you and annoy you until you agree to come on the Blether. So you sealed your own fate there, Ryan. Sorry about that.
Aye.
He's got a newborn on his chest.
Jimmy, Danny. It was Jimmy Doherty. That's the boy. And
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Jimmy's got a question about putting new make in a cask finish, which was used to bring a below 40 whiskey percent back up. Cask was empty.
New make cask finish was used to bring a below 40% whiskey back up. The cask was empty, so the age would need to be reset.
Okay, I got you. Aye, so they put the new make in the cask, emptied it out. I dare say, man, do you know there's any amount of jiggery pokery has probably gone on in the past? Not something we would try. Certainly not because we've got our Spirit Drinks Verification Scheme inspection next week, so definitely we'll be trying any of that shit. So we have to be. There's quite strict rules on whiskey, and there's maybe a few things that would have happened under the radar in some places over the years. I would be amazed if there hadn't been. But the paperwork trail for these things is usually pretty intense. Every milliliter of alcohol has to be accounted for, whether that's gin, whiskey, rum, whatever else. And then there has to be a kind of document trail that shows if I transfer a cask, it has to be recorded and everything else like that, and they will go through all your records. So each of the processes in whiskey are licensed separately. So from the production side, you've got your mashing, your fermenting, your distilling. For us, we're licensed for maturation, blending, and bottling and labeling. But each of those things is licensed separately, and it's the same price for us as it is for Diageo, but the rules are the same. So we have to make sure we get these things right, because if I can't write Scottish whisky in the label, it's not much use to anybody. So
yeah, he's got an interesting point. Just the next comment up: would it be legal to have, say, a maple or cider cask, something that's not currently legal, and then you could put rum into it, and then put whiskey into it, and a glass of rum finished cask?
I mean, I've thought about it. I just didn't want to push my luck. Obviously, we had those maple syrup casks we put the rum into. Are they technically rum casks or the maple syrup casks now? But I sided on the fact they were probably still maple syrup casks that had rum in them. At the end of the day, a refill bourbon cask has had whiskey in it, but it's still a bourbon cask. So it's
I guess you could Glen Murray it and do it, and then get a slap in the wrist and be told not to do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shame that cider was one of those things that wasn't included.
Yeah,
and kind of heard arguments on either side. I'll just say I think it's a shame. I think we'd be something more representative of what I would want to make of a whiskey using a cider cask than a mezcal cask or a tequila cask. but then I've not got a multi-million-pound stake in tequila industries, so I haven't got much say in the matter. It's just one of those things. These are the rules, we have to play by them. I think even with the rules being quite descriptive and being quite strict, there's still a huge amount of creative freedom in there. And we said it earlier in the chat that we can make these hugely diverse spirits. It's one of the things that why so many of us are interested in whiskey, in the same way that people, I don't think there's a community for rum and there's a community for other spirits and tequila especially, but I don't think it's quite the same level of intensity as the whiskey community, because we've got so much more to play with, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember it's not just Scotch either. We sit here in Scotland thinking, we make whiskey and we're the best in the world at it, but whiskey is now a global market with people all over. We've spoken about Scandinavian market quite a lot, but there's Australia and South Africa.
Absolutely, but it is a harder sell, and Scotch whiskey has this reputation because the rules are so strict. And I think everyone likes to bash the SWA, but I think our industry was a huge amount to them because they controlled that, and massive amounts of respect for Irish whiskey. I think some of the most interesting, most knowledgeable conversations I've had have been with Irish distillers, but their industry was damaged by the fact that the transparency wasn't there, and people describing themselves as master distillers when they were effectively having stuff contract distilled for them, or just buying bulk spirit and creating a brand from it. And that built a lot of confusion into Irish whiskey, so that when new distilleries started to emerge, like Teeling, like Dingle, and so on, folk couldn't quite understand this kind of distinction between a whiskey brand that they thought was a distillery they'd been buying for years and a new distillery. So it's that would never have happened in Scottish whiskey. It was one of the things that was annoying me about Scottish gins. We're letting these things being made in other places and calling them after specific Scottish islands or whatever else.
Yeah.
The same with rum. Like, what is a craft Scottish rum if you're buying an IBC of industrial grade shite, adding sugar, colour, and artificial flavouring? And how's that diluting at 40%? Where's the Scottish craft element coming into that? When you've also got people that are doing rectified rums, or you're doing scratch-made Scottish rums, and that's an emerging scene. It's going to get complicated in that description. Whereas whiskey's never had that problem in Scotland. It's clear what it is on the bottle, and folk understand that.
That wasn't kind of. I completely understand what you're saying there, and agree fully with it. But what I'm saying is, whiskey in the general as a brand or as a spirit has become so global that you could be sitting in a bar in Japan or sitting in a bar in Argentina, wherever, and people are talking about whiskey. We all might
than I do, Mike, that's for sure.
But yeah, we're saying that you're saying that whiskey has got that kind of, it's set apart. And it's not the Scotch is set apart; it's whiskey now, because people are talking about whiskey, and we're probably world leaders or global leaders in terms of that because of what the SWA have put in place. You look at Japan; have just launched their own set of rules now after 100 years of making whiskey. They've decided now, right, we're actually going to be really strict about it. England have just come out last year with proposals for their own kind of equivalent to the SWA.
Yeah, but what's the standard that they're applying? I mean, it's largely based on the rules of Scottish whiskey as well. So, I kind of, not to bang on about Nordic distilleries, but I do feel that they've got the balance right. They've got their own identity. American whiskies as well. They've got their identity. They've got what they do. They're also not, with maybe the exception of green tea casks, they've not gone too far. I think when you started using green tea and sherry mixtures, then that's folk are losing what it means. But if you use birch wine, or you use, there's a distillery called Farrilochen in Denmark, and they smoke the barley with nettles because that's where they used to smoke the cheese in that region. So there's something that links it to them. It's not overly gimmicky, but it's just something a wee bit different. Not sheep dung, maybe. It's kind of went a bit too far in Iceland there, but all it's just trying to find identity, and Scotland's got its identity. But we're trying to sell Finnish whiskey in Sweden at the moment, and it's not as easy as saying here's Scottish whiskey. So it's but I'm just a nerd, and I enjoy that world of whiskies. And when we bring the Cura to a tasting, there's half the room, their eyes light up, and this is something new, and they love it, and it's completely different. Another half, it's not what they were expecting, But I think you for whiskies like that, you have to compare it to a different reference point. You're not comparing it to Scotch whiskey, you're comparing it to an American whiskey at that point.
Yeah.
So, and if you do that, then suddenly the reference points make more sense, and it fits in that family tree of whiskies better. So anyway, it's too far down the rabbit hole.
Well, we had the Arctic distillery guys on a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? Just before Christmas.
Yes, the Aurora.
Yeah, they're doing some really cool things.
Yeah,
Colin and Tor on there. Did you get up there when you were on your tour?
I've not been up to them yet, but we will at some point.
You mentioned earlier on that about the challenges, and half their year is in complete darkness because of where they are. It's like nuts. But they set it up for people going. They're not going for a distillery tour as they would maybe Glengarry, spend a couple of hours. You're going there and you're expected to spend at least a couple of days.
Yeah,
up there.
But then you can't buy a bottle of whiskey there.
No, it's nuts.
Went to Mukin Distillery, and I'm sure I've talked about this with you guys before, but it's 4 flights from Aberdeen, a 5-hour ferry trip from Boda, across the Arctic Circle and into this wee rock in the Arctic Ocean, and they don't even have fresh water. They have to desalinate salt water. There's like 12 people live on this island year round, and there's a Michelin star restaurant and a distillery. It's complete insanity to make whiskey there, but I love the fact that they do. And they make bloody good whiskey as well, So it's, but they can't talk about whiskey on their social media. Yeah. They only show photographs of how beautiful the island is and these things like that. You go all the way out there, you spend 2 days traveling to get there. You can't buy a bottle of whiskey when you get there.
That's
so it's all government controlled.
I remember them saying, because Tor Petter was in Norway doing the Blether, and he had his Bifrost logo brand on. Colin, because he was in the UK, could advertise the Aurora distillery, or vice versa. No, one could advertise the whiskey, but one could only advertise the distillery. And it was like, because he was in the UK, he was allowed to advertise it. But if they wore the same shirt, Tor would be brought up because he's advertising the whiskey, the spirit, and it's like it's bonkers.
Yes, it was up for review at one point in Scotland. There was talk about banning whiskey advertising in Scotland, and then what do you do with your visitor centres? What do you do with branded clothing and everything else? And it starts to become, you realise just how much of an impact all these things would have. It's more. It goes more than just stopping adverts. It's much more nuanced than that. Dave's just pitching for an LBD handful. You just want to come up to the bloody warehouse and help yourself is what you want to do, Dave.
It was just about to come out of there.
Yeah. I think we like just being on the farm and having us, and that's it. It's still an active farm, so there's tractors going about and that sort of thing. You don't have kind of public kicking about. It starts getting a bit messy, and then you've got different licensing and that sort of thing as well. So, it's. It's Chris likes his privacy and his peace and quiet.
I love how you can actually come up with a legitimate excuse. You say, Chris wouldn't want
it. That's his house at the end of the day, isn't it? You wouldn't want a bunch of strangers. It's handy having him there, because usually if the alarm goes off, it's him that has to go and deal with it, not me. Just across the road. The snow and set the fire alarm off at 2:00 in the morning the other day. It was slightly more exciting when you realise it's a fire alarm and not a burglar alarm. It fairly got him out of his bed, like.
The snow had set off the fire alarm.
Yeah, I think it must have just ice had got into one of the cables or something. So we got down to about minus 18, I think it got to in that wee bit, because it sits in the hall there. And then the next day, Chris sent me a video from the security cameras of him doing donuts in the close. It's like, oh, very good. Good to see you're busy.
You know what happened with me with the snow? My car broke down before Christmas. It got taken away from the scrap wagon on Monday morning. I managed to get a new car just before Christmas. So old car goes away Monday morning. Tuesday morning, snow falls off the top of the apartment building and caves in the front of my new car. Like literally in the space of 12 hours, old car goes.
Oh, no. I damaged it.
Yeah, the whole new bonnet needs replaced. It's pulled off the back wiper, everything. Like, because it's a white car as well. Because the next door neighbor tapped on the door and said, "Oh, is this your car? Because I think there's maybe some damage because your wiper's off." And because it's a white car, I was like, "It doesn't look that bad." And then all the snow kind of left, and I was like, yeah, no, that's just actually completely caved in there." So yeah,
that's a shame.
that is a shame. Bloody snow. And I usually quite like the snow, but do you know what? It can just fuck off now. Like,
I understand that.
Yeah, pretty much has now. It was the fact that the annoying thing is that it was the snow fucking off that made it melt and slide off the roof and onto your car that caused that.
I know. So if anybody watching the Blether is like a sort of car
Panel beater is what you want.
panel beater, yeah, give me a shout. Or a millionaire, indeed, if you're one of those also.
A GoFundMe for Kat's car.
Yeah, well, I know.
You get enough, you can get me a couple of tires as well. I had to go and my little faithful little golf that goes around the country with me. Finally couldn't get into Edinburgh, Glasgow anymore because LEZ, so I had to change it. I bought a car in London. I was driving back up. I had to go visit David Stark and pick up some bottles of whiskey to him to deliver to Dufton as a favour. And on the way back, I hit a pothole and did 2 new tires in the new car that I had that day.
No.
So caused tires the next day for 2 new tires.
I've got a tire.
Yeah, Jeremy, I had one of those as well. They were good fun. Can't get a lot in them though.
We still got a tire sitting in our cupboard under the stairs at the shop that we got from Woodrow.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the bottom of that? Of like, what the hell?
We just think there's a delivery driver somewhere with a case of 33-year-old Strathmill, loving it.
Yeah, rather
Do you think
an old tire.
You thought you just would notice? Yeah, whiskey tire similar. You'll not know it.
The shape box, that yeah.
Where are you, Don, or past whiskey? Where in the world are you? Do you know, Mike?
Just through the Aquavite Barflies, Donna. He started joining us. I can't remember where you're from. You do? I think yeah.
Well, we've been cracking Europe here for Northern Lights, and I think it's one of the other reasons for being so lucky to be up in the northeast of Scotland here. Nice dark skies and the chance to see it. And first few times I was rushing out with bottles and the camera, gonna get a photograph of the gin or whatever else in front of the Northern Lights. California. Okay.
California.
Yeah.
Another California.
Aye.
Do you think the Northern Lights are becoming more frequent, or is it just that phones are
getting
a
cyclical thing? I think it's kind of like a 10, 12-year cycle.
Right.
So we're kind of at the peak, and it'll start to go down again. Then maybe another 10, 12 years, it'll be this again. So
I just wondered if phones were getting better at capturing them. So, or
more that also, I think there's apps and Facebook groups, things like this now. Before you just had to be outside and chance that you saw it, whereas now folk are looking for it. They're ready.
You got websites telling you, they're going to be key in your area today. That's Andy, do you have any idea how many casks you've bottled? How many in total? Whiskey, just talking whiskey.
Yeah, probably, but off the top of my head, I can't remember. No, it's not a massive number, like 50 or something like that. Because we didn't do huge numbers in the beginning. It was
I did a quick count before we came on, so I'm obviously not counting shop exclusives like ones you've done for specific groups or whatever. But we've had 43 different bottles in the shop. So
probably not far off that. Then I think you've got them all, haven't you? So it's Yeah, well, maybe slightly more than 50 then, but yeah, not vast numbers. But I think last
6
year we
years.
did
I mean,
about
10 a
20.
year is not bad, is it? 10, 11 a year is pretty good going.
Yeah, I think with some years, like we first started, it was like 2, So it kind of obviously the last 2 or 3 years has been quite different since we've had our own warehouses, and this is now what Chris and I do full time. Whereas before it was well, Chris was running the farm and I was still working at the vet, so it's a different requirement now. And obviously we've got the 2 warehouses, we've got much more stock to choose from. There's some cracking stuff in warehouse 2 just now, so quite excited to see about what some of those casks do, and I was just quite looking forward to sharing some of what's coming out with folk. I think I was excited to see how folk received the Glasgow and that sort of thing, and there's a few other casks that I've got that I'm feeling as excited about. So I love it. I think I can't see a point where I'm not going to enjoy doing this and finding these things and making the decisions about what to bottle and how or what casks to use and these things like that. I think it's something that I just look forward to going to work every day, and it's and Chris is the same. We're very lucky we got to work with their best mate and do something you're really passionate about and enjoy. So let's keep trying to do that and keep the enthusiasm high and hopefully keep doing things that folk are enjoying.
Was that the kind of like dream, like when you 2 were sat together thinking like this is what you wanted to do? Did you see was this what you were picturing, like the place you're at now, or did you...
it's kind of evolved organically to an extent. I mean, obviously I used to do the little private bottlings myself, and I would love to, at that stage I thought I'd be quite happy to do a cask from each distillery or a cask from each region even at one point. I've been happy with that. Ambitions change, and obviously we just what we want to do differently each year. But quite happy with where we are just now, and just very proud to be working in this industry. Some cracking people, and it's nice to be a wee small part of that. And to win the award last year was really just wild, completely wild.
Phenomenal.
It's awesome.
There was some incredible people in that room that night, and it was nice to be named alongside them, but we thought that was as much as it was going to be. When they called our name out, I think I might have just said, "Oh fuck," like, quite loudly. And I think as well, if you see the photos of the thing, I think if I'd known that we were going to win, do you think I'd have actually worn that suit? So it was definitely a surprise.
It's a good suit. That's a good suit.
It's something, isn't it? And then that fucking picture that you keep putting up, like, I know
it's Nick stole it as well. Nick's using it for your tasting.
Okay, well, a few we've been at a few boards now. We usually get the bridesmaids kind of place, we usually get runner up. And we're often sort of, there's a big group photo and you can never see us. This year, I'm like, Chris, front and center. So we're the first people up on the stage, and we're like, right, we're right here. So the big photo of every award winner, we're right in the middle, even though we're kind of like, not.
And it's every one of you as well, isn't it?
Our award. And then the blend thing was just wild as well. I mean, if you think about, it's so easy to think about whiskey as single malt or even single cask, and single cask is like this much, single malt is like this much, whiskey is this, right? Mm-hmm. And so much of that whiskey is blended Scotch, and to win the best blend was just wild. We were so chuffed with that, and kind of really think that you can make something quite special with blend that is that deserves a bit more respect or a bit more love. The number of people that I don't drink blends, I only drink single malt. Well, you're missing out, completely missing out. There's a lot of shite blends out there, but there's a lot of really, really good blends out there as well. And of course, it makes sense. You can start with good ingredients. You can just make something different. You can. It's another facet to play with, isn't it? And it's something that we enjoy a lot. Is trying to construct these things and build them. So to get that was crazy. There's some people in that room that we really, really look up to, and I don't think they'd heard our name before that night. Some of them, so it's nice to be up there for a wee period of time. And Chris was most happy because I'd promised him that if we won, I wouldn't enter the next year, so he knows he's got a year off next year.
Not
that was like we celebrate most. We don't have to come back, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was super chuffed when I heard it come through that you guys have won, and obviously knowing you guys being local and stuff, that was it. But more than anything is we know what you produce. We taste the hell of a lot of it. We're lucky to get our hands on it, and you deserved it. From our point,
we're lucky, you know, to have, you know, guys like you on our doorstep. We were just joking with somebody else today. We're talking about something and talking about the first release that we did and how we announced that. And you know, that week, Eden Mill had launched their single malt, and they drove it to Royal Mail Whiskies and Rolls Royce. We drove our Project AFG to Inverurie Whisky Shop in a Massey Ferguson tractor, and it was kind of came back to bite us in the ass about a year later when they were trying to get a different license. And the HMRC guy had been Googling us, you know, and this thing had come up, and he's like, what colour was the diesel in the tractor when you were using it for non-agricultural purposes for your video?
No.
Wow. Oh, definitely white diesel for that one, like, so it was fine.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, it's been you've been guys who've been with us since the beginning, so it's nice to kind of have you guys look after us so well, so and then do these sorts of things. I mean, surely folk are bored of us now, so we'll let them get back to their evenings. But
I mean, the numbers haven't dropped yet. Normally, we see a distinct drop about this time, but
you can't drop below 3 anyway, is it?
I mean, we're all on, so that's it. Yeah, 100%.
Well, Dave Fackerson's off to bed, so she say goodnight to Dave.
Yeah. Well, Dave's been a great supporter as well, so cheers to Dave. And it's nice seeing a few names popping up the side now that I finally worked out how to turn the comments on, that we recognise. So it's always nice. And the new names for me as well. So we want to try and build this audience and build a group of folk that care about whiskey as much as we do, because there's a lot of folk out there that care a lot about whiskey, and just know we're hopefully not going to fuck it up too much for you, and not start going too far up our own backsides. And I did buy a giant red rubber ring thing because I thought it looked like the Macallan, what do you call it thing?
Oh, the.
I thought if I put a stopper on that, it would look like, and then I can maybe pop it or something like that, you know. Like that Glenlivet, I wanted to write on the label super ultra mega hyper premium range, because we did the extra value range, but we decided that folk might find that funny, but they might not necessarily buy it, so we didn't bother with that. But maybe I'll maybe explode that rubber ring pretending it's a Macallan.
That'll be your next
real bottle, and I'll blow that one up instead.
Your next distillery release could be that wee rubber ring.
Aye.
Just put some Diamantes on it, it'll be fine. Get your glue gun out, a couple of Diamantes. Brand.
That sounds like a job for you, Kat. You can come in with your hot glue gun and we'll bling up some bottle.
I do have a hot glue gun, actually. That's not even a euphemism. I just have a hot glue gun.
I just assumed you would. Yeah. You're giving off strong hot glue gun vibes. Like, I just thought.
My Tinder profile obviously gives off hot glue gun vibes as well. It's everything.
Yeah, maybe some paper embossing and that sort of thing as well, you know. Thanks, folk, for listening to us tonight. It's been good fun again.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Andrew. I didn't know you were watching. Thanks for watching again, Andrew. Andrew's my ex-colleague. There we go.
It was your ex as well. That's awkward.
She would not be that cheerful if her ex.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
No, I'd be like, excuse me, child maintenance. That's been 2 years. Hello. If he was watching, but no, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But no, we're always welcome on, Andrew, and not just when I can't find anybody else. But
substitute
in those situations, you're also very handy.
I did check back. We're now in our 4th year of the Blether, and this is Andrew's 4th. And I think you were the first under the moniker of the Blether. I think we've done a couple of.
Right, Jesus. Did I get a watch or something, or a long-term service?
We'll
Achievement
get you a
award?
gold star.
We'll get you a hot glue gun or something.
A branded one. Very whiskey shop.
Cat will sign it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
slightly used, but still functioning. Yeah,
Exactly.
You
Ed
can
Friday,
use
here's
it.
a good endorsement for you. Your name is now a guarantee of quality. If you did an exclusive with IWS, Spirits Embassy, Isle of Whiskey Club, Barrels and Botanicals, etc., I'd be all over it. That's a very clever way of me to list a range of competitors, Ed. Thank you very much for that.
but you at least named in there, so that's one.
I did. We did do it
Yeah.
exclusive with yourself not too long ago. It was wee Octave, wasn't it?
That's right, and it's quite funny because that's become one of the kind of wee ones that folk find hard to collect. Because there was obviously there are a few folk that collect the whiskey, and that's the one that kind of catches a few folk out because it's hardest to find. That one, it was only about 60 odd bottles or something, wasn't it? So
Yeah, 74 bottles, I think it was.
Some of that actually. I forgot. I still got some of that on the shelf. I need to.
and that was the
look
first
at
one we geotagged the distillery because we couldn't name
Yes.
it as Blether, so we used the 3 words coordinates for that one. Yes, that was quite good fun doing that. Yeah, so no.
We tanked a bottle on our staff night out 2 years
Yes.
ago.
Russell,
was
if you're
our-
still watching, it was that was that was a lot of fun. But the bottle
Well,
was
that's
good.
what I'm glad I'm now expecting an invite to staff night out now. So.
In fact, the only bottle I've got from you guys, and I've got it here that I haven't opened, is probably, I'm not sure if you can see that from the light, the wee mongrel batch one. I went through 3 of them, but it's just such a good whiskey, and I'll save that for.
I think I only got a mini of it left. I think, but yeah, it was cracking stuff. Willis, I do. Chris and I keep one bottle each. From I think most things, obviously, do like stuff for other folk. We don't tend to keep it, but the core bottles we tend to keep one each. As a wee memento. I think legally we have to anyway for like 6 months to show to SDVS or whoever else. But we keep ourselves. There's some bottles will always be a bit more of the sort of sentimental ones. So like the first Aaron, the Arden and Working we did for Banksy and these sorts of things, all kind of the kind of more sentimental ones for us. But it's nice, but it's good to not just get too tied into that as well, and keep looking for keep the future going as well.
100%. Yeah. Well, Tim is saying great chat. We'll be getting more LBD bottlings this year, so we've done our job tonight. We've got at least one more customer for you.
Excellent.
Which is a good sign.
No, it means a lot. It means a lot. So.
And it means a lot that you give your time up to come and chat to us and the guys at home. So thank you very much.
Great.
It's
No,
always
it'll be fun.
And, hopefully this year's is as successful as last year.
yeah.
I mean, you won't get the awards to prove it, but
Yeah, we didn't even know
we'll know
we're
yourself.
already basically world famous now, so it's all cool.
I know, right?
Did-
We'll probably
did
won't be able
you-
to
did you
afford
see-
this next year. We'll have to. You'll be coming to the Blether like a rider. You'll insist on like special.
Yes, I want 5 hot glue guns, please.
Yeah, that'll be it.
All right, we'll let you go, Andrew. We'll let the guys at home head off. Thanks very much for joining us. That said,
Thank you.
always a pleasure. Always look forward to your releases and look forward to seeing what's coming this year. So, yeah, thanks very much, guys. We will speak to you all very soon, hopefully next week. And Kat?
Who's on next
well, no,
week, Kat?
I was told not to book anybody for next week because you're double booked for multiple Burns nights you're off to, I think. So I think we're having a hiatus next week from what I was led to believe. Unless
Okay.
you now know otherwise.
We are now.
What we'll do next week, guys, is we'll just rerun this chat. And for all of those who
No
forget,
one's done anything that deserves that. Don't do that.
well, we'll go back
We're
to
gonna
the
get
first
Andrew
one and
back
see what we can learn about fridges.
Yes. We're going to talk about
But
octopuses
that's
and
great back
fridges.
then
for
as
an hour.
well.
No,
Thanks
thank you very much, guys. Been an absolute
Thanks for all the
pleasure.
nice comments as well.
Dutch Jura says that Andrew was excellent. You always are. It's so fascinating listening to you. It's absolutely fantastic. So we will say good night. I'll raise my empty glass to you before I fill it, and say thank you very much, guys. Good night.
Good night, folks. Cheers.